Welcome to the Liquid Croissant, a cocktail that took over 2.5 months to ideate, build, and iterate through that I can now be proud to share. A flip cocktail at its core, it starts off with a croissant syrup. On one rainy day in Brooklyn, I visited my local bakery with the intention of buying croissants. The croissants were secured, of course, in addition to a bunch of other goodies. Now, in order for us to get the most flavor out of a croissant, we need to do two things: expand the surface area by cutting croissants up, and subsequently toasting them. We want maybe 2 or 3 shades less than burnt. Any further and the croissants may start to taste bitter, and we don't really want that. We can get those caramelized sugars to come out, but more importantly we have this toasted wheat flavor. Next, we're weighing this out and adding equal parts water, followed by 10% of the croissant's weight in amylase and glucosidase. Croissants are filled with starch, and amylase and glucosidase both help break down the starch into more simple sugars. This process also ends up liquefying the croissant and makes it easy to extract the syrup. It also makes the end result less grainy. However, we need to stick this in a warm water bath for the enzymes to work, so let's vacuum seal this, add this to a water bath, and after 3 hours at 60 degrees Celsius, we have this liquid croissant syrup. It's kind of like digesting a croissant outside of your stomach, but I digress. Run this through a nut milk bag and squeeze as much liquid out as you can. Once it's cool, we're taking our refractometer and getting a rough estimate of the brix index, or essentially how much sugar is in the liquid. This had a brix index of 23, so we're going to add some sugar to bring it up to roughly 50 brix, which is similar to that of simple syrup. With that complete, let's move on to the second component: brown butter dark rum. A croissant should taste buttery, and what better way to express that than fat washing some rum with brown butter. Admittedly, I'm not that skilled with working with butter. Usually my solids burn faster than I can get it to brown, but consistently moving the pot on low heat seemed to get me in a good position. After letting it cool, we're adding some dark rum to the butter, mixing it, and then storing it in the freezer overnight for the butter to solidify before straining the solids out. Assembly. At the end of the day, the flip format was the most appropriate and a more literal interpretation of the idea of a rich liquid croissant. We're adding half an ounce of croissant syrup as our base. Next, to add some salinity and nuttiness, I added half an ounce of coconut water. To avoid making this a super rich cocktail, I added 1/4 ounce of amontillado sherry with even more nutty undertones, 1¼ ounce of brown butter dark rum, as well as half an ounce of Empirical's The Plum, I suppose, for its marzipan and pastry notes. If you don't have the plum, I suppose, just sub the ½ ounce with even more brown butter dark rum. Now, in this flip, we're adding egg yolk. I found that adding egg white would actually mute a lot of the flavors in the drink, so I just opted for pure egg yolk to give that richness and have all these flavors bind together. Use a milk frother to dry shake, then shake with a block of ice. Pour the liquid croissant into a pony glass. This cocktail is rich yet balanced with butter, wheat, and nutty flavors. The only thing that I would want to add is probably a bitter garnish to help provide more contrast to the drink. Cheers.